and welcome to the Live Limitless series where we are focusing all about having conscious, empowered, and radiant relationships. So, to those of you who do not know me, I'm Nipam Jain and I love transforming people's life by releasing their pain and trauma so that they can be the best version of themselves. So, what are relationships? Relationships is everywhere. It's we have relationship with each and everything in our life. It's whether your spouse, your families, your friends, your business, everywhere. But itself, the word relationship means the distance between two objects. And when you look at most relationship, that is exactly what occurs. The projections, the expectations, the judgments that relationships are often built on create separation rather than communion, and ultimately they destroy the relationship. So what how do we do that? How do we bring that communion in our relationship? So on that note, I welcome Rachel Silber. Welcome, Rachel, to the show, and I'm really excited to have you here with all of us. Welcome,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very grateful for the invitation. And I'm very grateful for the space that you're opening. Living limitless and actually truly living limitless is something that most of us not only shy away from, we just make it so far away, so like inconceivable. It's like something that maybe could happen in the movies, but it's not something that we could
Right.
actually
How
use.
sweet.
You mentioned the word communion rather than relationship, and because relationship being the distance, communion is this is it's this melting and receiving and being present with everything,
Yeah.
and everything includes, someone that we're super close with and have been super close with, not only in this particular lifetime, perhaps in many other lifetimes as well. We're always coming along for the ride, and generally we have such a distance from ourselves because we take on all those things that you'd mentioned, all those projections, all those expectations, all those woulda, shoulda, couldas, all the all the things that we feel pressured to contort ourselves and to fit into this particular way of being, which isn't necessarily us.
And
And
how
so my invitation,
so
sorry,
important is to be you, in fact.
pretty much essential. Really, if you're not being you, what's the point? And that's the really beautiful thing. Most people, and myself included, we try to do being. We try to figure out what we have to do in order to be, and it's so deceptively simple. You were saying, to let go of the pain and the trauma and the upset, that's your target, to
Yeah.
let all of that go. And in that as well, so many of us, and, case in point, I spent more than 15 years on a therapist's couch, really telling the story over and over again of my pain, suffering, abuse, trauma. I was medicated and all that stuff. But I held on to that as if that were me.
Hmm.
And what I'd love to invite each of us to is to go on an adventure, to go on this journey of discovery and actually explore what is being me. If
Yeah.
I were being me, what would I choose? What would be fun for me? What would I include? What would I enjoy? Like, not just what other people tell me that I should be and do. And this is in such a huge way. We're born in a particular country. We're given a label. We are that. Or we're born in a culture, or we're born in a religion, or we're just born to mom and dad who have a particular outlook on the world. And we buy those parameters as the only thing that's available to us to choose from. Well, that's just one set of possibilities. What if you know something entirely different? I have a kitty cat that I'm protecting my coffee from. So what if there are other possibilities? It's really funny. I've been blessed to have been born in one country, raised in another, and I'm living in an entirely other country. And not only a different country, but a different culture, a different perspective of life, a different way of seeing the world. And so I've been, as a result of that, plus traveling, plus being around a lot of really interesting people. I've been traveling and going to access consciousness classes for 10 years now. I love the tools of access consciousness, and I've met through access people from all over the world. So what that gifts me is this wealth of seeing things from different perspectives. There's no one right way. There's no, well, this is how it's done. Not really.
Right.
This is how you've done it till now. But what else could you choose beyond that if you weren't sticking yourself in that one point, literally like one tiny point of you? If you were willing to embrace the space of you and the energy that you be and the consciousness that you be and the possibilities that you could notice that other people haven't even begun to notice, what would you see in the world? What would be available to you? It's amazing if you just let go. I often laugh with my kids. I say it's like the what do they call them? A compass to draw circles. You
Yes.
have to stick the point in, and hold on to that point to make that perfect circle. Well, what if we're here to weeble wobble a bit? What if it's more fluid than one concentric, kind of a circle that's super controlled and super firm and super structured?
And
What if,
how your life would be, it would be creating every moment. And when you are into that zone. Exactly.
yeah, because you're choosing, and as you're choosing, you're being, you're creating, you're choosing. If you allow yourself, and this is a double dog dare ya, if you allow yourself to actually have fun, like what if that's the joy of being? What if that's why we're here, to actually enjoy and to explore what is being for us? And if we're willing, to add those elements of pleasure, add those elements of what delights me. We're sold this bill of goods that first of all, that our culture, our religion, this is who we be, this is the limited menu. But life's a banquet of possibilities, and our life and living is includes everything. We just happen to filter things out that don't match those tiny little points of view that we have, that say this is the only thing we could have, or this is the only way that things could show up.
Yeah,
But it's not really like that in the world.
true.
It's abundant, and there's infinite possibilities there. There's actually the wealth of being. For me, is a well of being. When we are being, there's an ongoing infinite well of possibilities that's available to us when we're willing to give ourselves that space, just even a tiny little space. Dr. Dane here, one of the co-creators of Access Consciousness, asks a question which I absolutely love. What else is possible that I didn't think is possible? That if I were willing, keyword here, willing to allow that possibility, another keyword, allow. So I'm willing to just open that door just a tiny little bit.
Yes.
I'm not going to stand in my fixed point of view, in my fixed position in this is the world. I'm going to just, what is here that I haven't noticed? I'm willing to say, okay, well, maybe if I haven't noticed it before, maybe there's just a tiny little opening and something else could be possible. And then, if that's possible, what other tag along possibilities might be coming with that one, and with those? And so what else is available if I just open the door a crack? What amazing, magical, miraculous possibilities could show up in my life and living if I'm actually willing to allow that? And to me, being and having that intimacy and that closeness with us is being that wealth, is being that opening, is being that fluidity where there's a space for life and living to engage with us, for the rest of the world to come and play with our asks and our desires, for our asks to create the future that we'd like to create.
Yes,
And
truly.
those are, yeah, those are spaces that we don't grow up with in a world where we're faced with a box and a contraction, and this is all there is.
We have not been trained to be that way.
Yeah.
And as
So
we,
what if we could untrain?
yes,
What if we could literally just undo that and allow that space that we be before we had taken on all of those definitions?
yes,
And if we don't have those definitions, wow, any interaction that we have with anyone comes from the space of honoring, a space of gratitude. I see you and I see me, and wow, what do you know that you haven't even realized that you know? What do I know that I haven't even acknowledged or realized? What gift are we that, wow, if I wouldn't look at all these shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and how someone should be, what could I appreciate now? What amazing appreciation could I be for the miracle I see walking, by me with a particular person, or my kitty cat right here, or the ravine behind me? I mean, if I'm willing to see the beauty and the miracle and the possibility, even where other people may see there's just despair and darkness, if I'm willing to just open that little tiny door, what else is possible here that I didn't think was possible here? That if I would allow in that possibility, would create a magical and miraculous reality that I've never imagined existed and is beyond my wildest dreams.
yes. That is so true. And it will open up a different world of possibilities where you can just play around and just be yourself. So,
Yeah.
tell me, Rachel, what is being you is a greater gift than you ever imagined? I mean, how it is a greater gift?
How is it a greater gift? Because it's an ongoing discovery. Sorry, there's a helicopter that's agreeing with me right now. Doesn't have to align and agree. But yes, I'm so glad you just said that, because it isn't about aligning and agreeing. So to create a reality, I love to do it visually. I happen to be a very visual person. So to create something that people say, this is real, this is reality, it takes two people, person A and person B, to align and agree or fight each other, resisting and reacting. Look at the world news. We got lots of that going on. So, we either align and agree or resist and react, and we're still holding on to this minimal point of view that's not necessarily creating anything greater. But the moment one of us just allows a change, the moment we let go of that point of view, and there are so many different ways in the summit, you've got lots of speakers, everyone has their own way. One of my favorite ways is to know that I know, and I love that choice creates. And so when I see that, I can keep beating myself over the head with it, or I can let it go. Or there's also the magical access consciousness clearing statement, which you can find out about at theclearingstatement.com. And that's right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pop, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Why? Because we're not looking at the right of things. We're not looking at the wrong of things. It is what it is, and you let it go, and it is no longer what it is, because how you see it may be how you decided that it is, and it isn't actually that. Or we live in a world where we think our point of view is us, but what if that's not true? So everywhere you've misidentified, misapplied yourself, and presented yourself to the world as a limitation, would you be willing to send all of those lies back to wherever they came from? Right,
Definitely.
wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, poc, shorts, boys and beyonds. Because we're not that.
Yeah.
We're a constantly ever shifting space of possibilities. Like I said, I'm very visual. To me, an infinite being, which is what we speak about in Access, is much like I don't know if you can see the clouds in the sky and the blue sky behind me.
Yes.
So to me, we're like that. But we get so confused between the space that we be, between the breadth of us that we be. We think that we are all those clouds that are coming, in front. So we see, little white fluffy clouds. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so cute. That's good. I'm going to hold on to that one, right? But we can't ever, if you've ever laid back on grass or something and looked up or sat and watched, out the window, you can see that the clouds are constantly shifting. Here we're in what's called the rainy season. I'm in Central America. In the rainy season, it is pouring, just pouring every afternoon for the most part. And the sky is like this in the morning, but come midday, it clouds over and all you see is white. And then it goes into stormy gray. But the infinite being, the sky itself, doesn't get confused that it is any of those clouds. It doesn't try to hold on to any of those things. It doesn't judge itself for being rainy or, clouded over or thundering or storming or anything else. It just lets these things move. And that's one of the freedoms that we have. This is where choice, when we don't make it personal, we don't make that cloud define the sky. We don't make that thought or that point of view define us. We're the space where anything can come in and play with us, where we can actually choose, what do I prefer? What do I enjoy? What do I like? What delights me? What do I know? What would I like to know more about? And begin to add that into our life. Being is not a static thing. Being is a discovery and a process and a journey and a joy, really, in the journey, if we allow ourselves to have that.
Yes.
And it's changed my life entirely. And I was willing to play with the tools of being you.
Lovely. So I do agree that if you're truly being you, things can definitely change and things can be in a different way. So what changes when you begin to trust yourself when you're being you? What what door of possibilities would open in your relationships, in your surroundings?
You have far more ease. There, I'm speaking in a very personal way. Also, with my husband, I've been married for I think it's been 24 years. I'm not sure. I'm not really good at keeping track of time. I know where our anniversary is though. But we've had ups and downs through the years, and the more I've relaxed into being me, the more I allowed him to relax into being him. And the more I allowed, there was no aligning and agreeing or resisting and reacting, so no solidifying anything. There was just this space of curiosity and wonder about myself and about him. There was me willing to choose him, and like I'd wake up in the morning, kind of like you, I'm willing to have you around, whatever was begins to melt away. So there's an actual tool we use in Access Consciousness. Everything, and I do it for myself. I've been doing it with a friend for the last year practically. My friend Catherine McIntosh has done this destroying and uncreating no judgment diet every day. And I've been playing with that, destroying and uncreating everything I've been, all those little points that I've been holding on to in the definitions. I just let them go. Everything I've ever been, done, seen, heard, chosen, whatever, judgments, decisions, conclusions, anything I've ever thought was me, bye-bye. I'm willing to let that go. Destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, poc, shorts, boys and beyonds. My memory sometimes goes away because I don't hold on to things. I don't try to hold on to a thought, or like the sky, try to hold on to a cloud and not allow it to move. No. So I may forget things. I still know who I am. I know who my husband is, but I don't hold on to grudges. I allow things to flow. I don't get upset so much. I may be intense because sometimes that's the energy that's required, but I don't hold on to it. It doesn't come from, I'm angry or no, there's just this space of allowance, truly, and gratitude for myself being, for actually, wow, I'm alive on this planet. How amazing is that? And also for for my husband, for the kids, for my parents, for other friends and people that I've seen. It's just this truly this wonder. If I didn't see them as I thought they were before, what could I notice now? So I'm able to see things with a fresh perspective, and a fresh perspective changes everything.
Definitely. This is such a huge question to ask. What you just said, if I was not seeing with those point of views, what could I see now into them? And whole that particular question changes everything, the energy of your relation with your parents, your kids, your spouse, or whatever it might be. That's really amazing, Rachel. I mean that's a huge one, in fact.
Yeah. Yeah. But it starts with having that with yourself. There's a phenomenal tool for allowance and access consciousness, which is called interesting point of view. It's actually what we call our second commandment. There's a phenomenal book, The 10 Keys to Total Freedom. And that's, the second key, which is everything is just an interesting point of view. So if this position that I'm taking while I'm looking at something, if this is just one point of view and it's an interesting point of view, what would happen if I look at it from this point of view? And if I shift it just a little bit and I look from there, what else could I see? So if I'm willing to not be so rigid in my points of view, if I'd be willing to allow them to be just interesting point of view, and know that I can also be interested or wondering about other people's points of view rather than vehemently fighting them. It's like, wow, well, I wonder what it was that made them choose that. It's their choice. Interesting point of view that they have that point of view. And wow, what an interesting point of view that I have this point of view about their point of view, trying to prove that I'm so right and that they've got to change theirs. Maybe it doesn't necessarily work that way. So what else could I choose? And that brings us to space of allowance, which is one of the elements of intimacy that we speak about in access consciousness. And this isn't intimacy like wham, bam, body parts together and there we have intimacy. That's why I say intimacy with you. And it comes from that allowance, having gratitude for yourself, for the other person, honoring yourself. What do we know? What is it that we enjoy? What is it, treating ourselves with regard and respect, and same with the other person. They can choose what they can choose because that's the choices they've made up till now. Banging their, head into the wall or trying to force them to be anything different than what they are may not work because their awareness hasn't been turned on yet that they could make a different choice. And so when we are able to have the intimacy with us, and there's trust, not like blind faith, but I remember one of my first facilitators for foundation class, which is one of the classes we facilitate in Access, was hysterical. I love this man, and he said, I trust that whenever my wife cooks in the kitchen and she peels the potatoes, I trust that the potato peels will be in the sink waiting for me to clean them up. I trust that. And I laughed so much because everyone else's trust. You've got to trust them to know what you want. You've got to trust them to read your mind. Yeah, that's fantasies. That's not really what's there. So trust them to be what they be. Trust them to, if they always leave the toilet seat up, know that that's going to happen. Trust them. If they leave their socks everywhere, you will find socks everywhere. When they get to a point where they no longer do that, or they see it, they notice it, and they go, I don't feel like doing that anymore, then they'll make a different choice. But trust them to be exactly who they be without having to effort so much to get them to change. And so, yes, it's a lot more
We just keep on pondering on changing people, controlling them, and resisting each and everything which what they are being for. So when you be into that space, you open up the whole different life, different possibilities, and the 10 creams of freedom, which you said that every 10 seconds you have a choice to choose and be a different person. How
Yep,
true is that?
it is. I love it. I may not have gone through the 5 elements, but it isn't so much about that as that that playful space. And there's some wonderful books. I love Divorceless Relationships by Gary Douglas. If someone would like to know more about relationships in general, Gary has a very, very different way of looking at the world. And that's part of the gift. What difference are you? What different way do you have to see the world that could invite the rest of us to be able to see and play in a reality that's more expanded and more different than it would be if we just stuck to one little point of view. And
Yes,
so I
definitely.
love that.
Thank you so much, Rachel. It was such an awesome exploratory, and I would say my whole being is joyous right now listening to you and with all those questions and all the possibilities and all the tips which you have just provided to us, the allowance not to resist. I mean, this is really golden nuggets which you have offered us over here today. Thank you so much for such an awesome, insightful conversation. And how did we get so lucky to have you here with us? Thank you,
Thank you.
viewers, for
Thank
watching
you.
us, being with us, and let me know your takeaways from this conversation. You can connect with me virtually on my Facebook group where I go deeper in every topic, where the link is in the description below. And if you want to connect to Rachel, where they can find you, Rachel?
Well, on Facebook for sure. I've got a Facebook page, the Rachel Silber Joy of Being. They can find me on Instagram as well, which is also Joy of Being, or UB Joy, I think is what it's called on Instagram. UB Joy is also my website. You're welcome to find me there. Reach out. I'm pretty much
Yes.
everywhere.
Change the possibilities. Be you, being you is what will create the change in this whole world. So till
Oh,
then,
and there's a fantastic Facebook group I have with a friend called Being You Without Hiding, and you're welcome to explore there too.
yes. So till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and love yourself a little more and be yourself. So bye
And
for now. See you all soon. Thank you so much, Rachel. Really glad for all the conversation we had today. Thank you so much.